Hi, welcome back to Charley Talk. I'm John Sonderegger. With me is Senator Scott Rupp and Representative Cynthia Davis. We were talking a little bit about campaign finance, and that moves me into my next question. What should we do about TIFs and tax increment financing laws? Should we finally revise those, Scott?
Yeah, what we've done on the Missouri Senate and we've gotten through the House is we've set up one of the TIF commissions where it's more difficult for cities and counties to just go ahead and say, hey, we want to steal the local Steak and Shake and Walmart and Best Buy from the city over and get that in place, so they have to go forward to the TIF commission. You know, retail TIFs make no sense. All you're doing is you're simply just taking money away from this city and moving it over here, and it's not doing anything, and it's just, you know, depleting the resources that are there. So TIF reform is something that we've worked hard on, we've had a lot of successes on, and that's we'll continue to make sure that, you know, the taxpayers are getting the best thing for their buck, because it is their money, and by sometimes the local municipalities and states and things that are taking their own tax dollars and giving them away just so they can rob Peter to pay Paul to get the latest building is not in the best interest of Missouri.
That's a big issue here in the county and county government, and I guess one of the things that they'd really like to see done is to finally define what blight is, because it seems like some developers say something's blighted and it's just a cornfield.
And I have a bill that I filed that does revise the definition of blight. It says we're not going to call vacant lot. It has to be undeveloped, and I mean, the problem is it has been abused, and we need to treat all the businesses the same. The biggest problem is when people think the big businesses need more money than the little guys, and the opposite is true.
So what are the chances of getting anything done on the state level like this? I mean, this has been a problem for a long time. How are you going to do it, Scott?
Well, what we do is we continue to work. I think we have St. Louis County that is working with us. We have Franklin County, and really a lot of the abuses were in, you know, the suburban areas. So we were able to really take care of some of the abuses here in this area. Getting out state is much more difficult because obviously you have a rural component in the legislature, and they don't have nearly the amount of growth. So anything that they can get, they do try to. So you just have to build the relationships with the, you know, your rural brethren on both the Republican and Democrat side, and we say, hey, this is in the best interest of Missouri, and this is what we need to do. And we're continuing to, you know, win people over and educate people and say, hey, this is the best way for economic development, not this piecemeal thing of giving a TIF away over here and over here. We need to have a long-term plan for economic development.
You're talking about some central plan for the whole thing instead of having cities deciding what they're going to do?
I think you need to have some type of, like what we did here with, you know, the TIF commission, you know, where you have a region. You know, it's not just, okay, St. Charles County is, we're going to be our own fiefdom and do this. So we have to look at an economic region. And when you have buy-in from St. Charles County and St. Louis County and Franklin County and Warren County, and everyone understands that if a plant comes and opens up in St. Charles County, it's going to affect the collar counties as well. And so by looking at it from a regional perspective, you know, that's the very first step, is that rather than, hey, if we steal something from St. Louis County, does that really affect the region, you know, or is it just in the best interest? Why are we doing that? Let's work together rather than compete, you know, just to steal something from your neighbor.
And it's been proven. I guess East-West Gateway did a study on it, and for some of the TIFs over the last 10 years, I don't know exactly what it was, but for each retail job paid about $18,000 a year, it cost about $400,000 in TIF money. And you get taxpayer giveaways to create that job. And
it's getting worse. In fact, you know, we're in special session this week, and I was again one of the principled legislators who had to vote against that bailout for Kansas City. It just doesn't make sense. We're doing the same thing that's happening in Washington, D.C.
What's the bailout for Kansas City? What is that?
The deal for the Ford company, the Ford Motor Company that made actually $2 billion in profit last year. I don't have anything against Ford. I love them, but whatever is good for them is good for everybody. And the best thing for everybody is to lower taxes. That is the finest economic development tool you'll ever find. But what really makes it possible to lower taxes is to have strong families. That's why they put me in charge of the Children and Families Committee. We do some really good things that are making Missouri a better state, and employers like being located in states where people have a good work ethic and where they have a strong community. It all works together.
Scott, the Ford Motor plant here, that wasn't part of it, huh? The one that closed in Hazelwood, that has nothing to do with it?
No, that had nothing to do with it. And what they're trying to do is, it's actually for all automotive, so it actually would also include the General Motors plant in Wentzville and all the the businesses that supply that are around GM in Wentzville, and to provide all the parts, and as long as several other across there, some in Columbia. So it's a whole automotive package is what they're attempting to do. Ford is basically going to make a decision of whether or not they're going to let go 3,500 workers over in Clay County, Missouri, and move it out, or are they going to bring in a new line, keep those workers, bring in new additional workers. Out in Wentzville, we're one of the only plants that make that for GM, that van that's built out there. Hopefully they could hire back 2 or the 3 shifts.
How many they lose? They lose 2 shifts?
Oh yeah, they're down to 1 shift, I believe now. And I think there's several. There's over 1,000 that are probably just not working right now that could be called back.
So you're in favor of this plan?
We haven't taken it up in the Senate yet, so we haven't heard the bill.
What have you been doing? I thought you guys been there for 2 weeks.
No, we just went in this past week and we dealt with the pension bill. Because before you do anything in this type of an economic climate, we're going to do, you're going to have to pay as you go. The federal government says they do it, but they don't. In Missouri, we wanted to deal with our pension reform bill that saves the state over $650 million over a 10-year period. And we said we got to get this done first to save the taxpayers money before we can even look at spending anything or any type of economic development package. So the Senate said we're going to do the savings first, get that done, then we can deal with the economic incentive package if we want to do it for Ford and GM and things of those natures.
What about smoking? Are you in favor of a state smoking ban?
You know what? I can't even get them to ban smoking in the Capitol. So if I sound cynical, there's one room where we can go to make a phone call or have a snack, and it's putrid. And it's worse when we work late because of all the cigar smoke. But no, if they're not going to quit smoking in the Capitol, what business do they have dictating how it's going to affect everybody else in the rest of the state?
Even though they're killing people in restaurants and bars with secondhand smoke, you're more worried about the smoking in the Capitol than you are the family sitting there at Applebee's?
How would you feel if you came to the Capitol and you have to smell that?
I wouldn't like it.
They do it in their offices all the time. I'm saying there's a huge amount of hypocrisy, and you'll see that. I don't believe that the legislators have the will to ban smoking.
Okay. How about you? You in favor of a state smoking ban?
I would gladly put it on the ballot and let the people decide if this is something that they want to do. And they can exercise their right. Now you're getting so many counties that are starting to do this here and there, and here and there you're going to get a patchwork, and eventually it's going to, it's going to say, hey, let's put it on there. Let's let the people decide, and that's the will of the people.
But the conservative perspective is that you're supposed to let each business owner make that decision.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that. But there are certain things that government can do, and I consider myself pretty much a conservative, but there are certain things that government can do. One of them is protect the health and welfare of its citizens. And I think the smoking ban against, I'm not a policymaker here, but I think it would be something that would probably be positive.
Even though it violates free market principles, I respect you for
yeah,
that.
That's right, yeah. Even though it does, because there are some things government can do, some things they shouldn't do. Cynthia, when you declared for office, you said that you would be more like Sarah Palin and he's more like John McCain. Explain.
I'm in touch with the people, and people are a little bit fed up with those who are in the big fraternity club. I mean, what are we going to ever get in terms of tuning in to what our constituents really want? Yeah, I live a real life. I don't get to go to the frat club. I don't go golfing. I don't smoke cigars late at night.
Maybe you should.
But I've been endorsed by the Missouri Right to Life, and I'm the only candidate in this race who's been endorsed by Missouri Right to Life, and that's for a reason. For them to not endorse the incumbent tells you something very bad has happened, because they always endorse the incumbent unless there's a problem. So when you look at the values, you look at family, you look at marriage, you look at what we really care about in St. Charles County, and what you're going to and Lincoln County. And you're going to discover that people want our country back. We're fed up with the professional politician who stands up and beats his chest and says, I'm a nice guy. And people want somebody who's going to actually tune in to what made America strong in the past is the same thing that will make us strong in the future.
All right, Scott, that looked like closing comments by you. Go ahead.
Well, I think what the people really want is they want results. Anybody can go up and they can push a button and say, hey, I voted this way. But what are you really getting out of the person that's going to the Capitol and working day in and day out for you? And I think we're getting results that the taxpayers want. Like I said, the illegal immigration bill, one of the toughest in the country. You know, I have the pro-life bill that has the stopping the taxpayer funds from funding abortion is on the governor's desk. I co-sponsored numerous pro-life bills. I've been endorsed by Missourians United for Life and Missourians for Life and various different pro-life groups. I have held the line on spending. I opposed the stimulus plan, created the state's only oversight committee to watch if there's any fraud, waste, or abuse before it happens to protect the taxpayer. We're getting results, whether or not it comes down to the family, the autism bill, helping out Missouri families that are really singly struggling and going bankrupt, making sure we have high-quality jobs. I've passed great economic development legislation that has gotten over $700 million of private equity dollars into the state that has created over 2,000 jobs. I get results for the taxpayer, and I think that they will see that. We've done a good job in the last 4 years. I look forward to working for them in the next 4.
Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Scott. That's all the time for Charlie Talk this time. Till next time, I'm John Sonderegger.